We think it's important to objectively rate Zoho One apps. I've put a link to this picture and a link to the guide where we kind of get a little bit more into detail about what apps we like and what ones we don't. But we think it's really, really important to rate them. Zoho does not love us for doing this. I do feel bad sometimes talking with some of the developers of their platforms and having to look them in the eye and tell them that I think their app is C tier or D tier. We try to be really objective. We update this. We update this when improvements are made, but we think it's important to tell you, you can still get a ton of value from Zoho One, even if you're not using all of the apps. And some of them you may want to steer a little bit more clear of. And we'll talk about some of those and why. God bless you, Zoho Meeting. You do your best and you have gotten so much better, but you are still just not quite up to snuff. Zoho Meeting is Zoho's replacement for GoToMeeting, Zoom. It also has a webinar platform. It really is great. 90% of the time it works. When we have a not super pressing, super important meeting, when we're talking internally or meeting up with a client that we've already done a ton of business with, then we don't worry that much about using Zoho Meeting, and it works generally pretty well. My biggest issue with Zoho Meeting is for that first impression, right? For a lot of salespeople, and especially for webinars, we found that 10% is just, that isn't an empirically found number, but it feels like on average about 10% of the time, our call or webinar will just completely crap out. It just won't work. And the impression that gives of kind of how professional we are as a company, it just looks really poor. That's why we maintain a GoToMeeting license. I hate to say it, but I have seen Zoho itself run webinars through GoToWebinar. Zoho Meeting is going to be totally fine for a lot of you, but I worry that your salespeople might push back a little bit on it. And that's why I'm cagey about recommending it for everyone. I will say it has improved leaps and bounds in the last 2 years. Let's talk in a year, and it may be easily the equal of any of the other web conferencing solutions. Zoho Marketing Hub is tough. We really tried. We tried so hard. We've done a couple of big implementations of Zoho Marketing Hub, and we ran into roadblock after roadblock. The API is limited. The user experience is kind of weird. Don't talk to me about list or journey entry being tied to lists and just really inflexible kind of contact and list structure. Bugs, I wouldn't say abound. That sounds bad. Maybe at the very beginning. Nowadays, it's much more stable, but it's tough. It's tough when there are lots of other options for marketing automation. This is a big reason why I don't recommend Zoho wholeheartedly to companies for whom marketing automation is a huge priority. Again, I like to be optimistic. Zoho has announced big kind of push to improve Marketing Hub. I will be very happy if you are here a year from now and you're watching an updated video where I've come through and apologized for the slander that I've given Zoho Marketing Hub. But for now, it's just not really worth your time. I'd look elsewhere. Zoho Sites, I feel really bad about. I talked with one of their developers and kind of gave him a piece of my mind in a rude way. Why does that always sound rude? I didn't literally give him a piece of my mind. It'd be lobotomy. I gave him my feelings, and they weren't super positive, but I think he understood. Zoho Sites actually aesthetically is gorgeous, and it's totally fine. Building it, I've built. We used to have our own site on Zoho Sites. Building it works totally fine. Here's my issue with Zoho Sites. You really are limited in terms of your website functionality. If you are just like let's say you're a stone mason and all you need to do is show a few pretty pictures of buildings you've made and then have a form where people can fill it out and send you an email. Zoho Sites can do that. Boom, you found it, use it, you're great. That's as complex as your site is ever going to get. you're totally good to use Zoho sites. Peace with you, my child. If you have really any other goals from your website, a blog, e-commerce functionality, affiliates, having a forum, having a community, having a portal, any sort of like website functionality that would normally be a WordPress plugin or a Squarespace extension that the other site builders are consistently adding, Zoho just doesn't have nearly as much functionality. So I'm cautious about recommending it because I don't want people to spend time developing a site only for it to not be future proof. As they scale, they say, "Hey, I need my site to do X," and it can't do X. Again, works great for some people, but I'm cautious about giving a blanket endorsement to it. Remember how we said it was important to be objective about these Zoho One apps? We're being really objective about the following apps when we tell you that we think they slap, they dominate, they're the best, they're world class. Um, Again, we're speaking mostly from personal experience. I am positive that people will be able to poke holes in our opinions. We can't speak unilaterally for every business vertical, for every system. But the following apps that we're going to talk about honestly do really, really well, and you'd be well to consider them for your business. If I could name my child Zoho CRM without my wife divorcing me and society scorning me, I probably still wouldn't do it because it'd be a really stupid name for a kid. But that's about how much I love Zoho CRM. Zoho CRM is just fantastic. It's world class. I honestly believe that, especially when you consider the price, there isn't a better option for a CRM for businesses pretty much across the board, across different verticals, big companies, small companies. Zoho CRM is just fantastic. It is immensely flexible. It's capable of automating, I swear, everything. It's been built to integrate with a host of third-party apps. It integrates super well across the Zoho suite. I really can't say enough nice things about Zoho CRM. The only caveat I gave it earlier is if you do run a business to consumer e-commerce company, you may have a better, more niche solution for you than Zoho CRM. Besides that, I can almost unilaterally say that you're going to love it. Please, please, please take some time to look into Zoho CRM. It is fantastic, especially if you're looking at any of the other competitors. We'd love a chance to show you that can dominate. We have a lot of courses on it. I take it personally when people look at other products besides Zoho CRM because I think it deserves consideration in every single scenario. Zoho Analytics is a little less sexy than Zoho CRM, and there's a bit more of a learning curve. I want to be upfront. The first time you open it, you may not think, oh my gosh, this is a demon slayer, world class, incredible analytics and dashboarding platform. Take a little bit of time to learn it, and you'll realize that other companies are charging $70,000 a year for what Zoho Analytics can provide for you at $800 a year or less if you're on Zoho One. It's immensely powerful. The just the integrations with Zoho alone are amazing. But if you look at integrations with AWS, Google Cloud, QuickBooks, just integrations everywhere, and the API is so easy to integrate and to pull data really from anywhere that Zoho Analytics just it stomps. I can't say enough good things about it. It's very visually polished. It's easy to use for the end user. The only thing I'll say, not against it, but that you should be aware of is be prepared to spend some time as an admin to figure out exactly how it works. But once you've done so, oh, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I wouldn't talk so highly of Zoho Cliq if I didn't use it every damn day to talk with my staff, clients, people at Zoho. I use it constantly, and it's just never been anything besides super user friendly and nice. I love it. I am willing to admit that Slack may be minutely easier to use and just a little bit more polished, But when we're talking about Zoho integration and price, Zoho Cliq just is fantastic. I am willing to also admit if you are in a non-US data center or trying to talk to people across data centers, that it is a little problematic. You can't do that very easily. So there are issues that different people across different industries or use cases might run into. But I love Zoho Cliq. I think it's absolutely worth a look. If you have already implemented Slack, then it might not be worth it. You can migrate fairly easily, but I would definitely give Zoho Cliq a look. I know it's super tacky to quote yourself. My wife would just think I'm super stupid and would be very embarrassed. But I'm going to quote myself from the Zoho One guide that I wrote. Zoho Creator is not incredibly easy to learn, but with time, Creator will turn you into the Zoho equivalent of the God from the book of Genesis. Okay, maybe I shouldn't use religious analogies. I don't want to offend anyone. But really, if you get good at Zoho Creator, you end up wielding such immense power to do literally whatever your business wants that it's just frightening. There's no Podio is really the only kind of similar tool, non super expensive enterprise tool that I've seen that can kind of approximate this. Creator is just so fantastic at being able to do really anything you want it to. I'm kind of vague because creator apps are just so myriad. But if you have any sort of business process that feels complex or that automating would save you a lot of time and money, I behoove you to check out Zoho Creator, especially if you're using the rest of the suite, especially if you're using Zoho CRM. I'm just enamored with how easily Zoho Creator is able to automate and streamline really complex processes into pointing and clicking a few buttons in a form. It really is powerful. It's definitely something you should take a look at. Zoho Books, you say, why are you recommending it when you give it a B tier in your guide? One reason, the only reason it got a B tier is because a lot of old school accountants kind of rage against the machine. They want to keep using their Abacus and their QuickBooks desktop until the day that they die. It's easier for them, even though it silos all the data just with them and it screws everyone else's processes up. If you have adaptable accountant or a really, really smart finance team of people that are willing to kind of adapt to a new tool, Zoho Books is absolutely A tier. I love, again, this is something I personally recommend because I've set it up for people that it works well for, but I use it myself as a business owner. It's so easy to use, so streamlined, pretty just intuitive. I love disrupting QuickBooks hegemony over small business accounting. And I really, really like how Zoho Books integrates so well with the CRM. In particular, we've built a lot of cool stuff like automatic invoicing from the CRM. That's something that a lot of businesses struggle with, right? Getting the sales team to connect to the finance team. So really give Zoho Books a look if you feel flexible enough and if your accountant isn't going to drive away in her Model T Ford out of anger that you're switching off of a platform that she's used to. So give it a look. Love it to death.